and welcome to this week's episode of Sippin on Country. And my guest this week is Matt Utterback. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, musician in town, you guitarist, bassist.
Bassist,
my
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, all good. It's a form of
bass
guitar.
guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
Bass guitar.
It is.
Too many of them. Too many of them. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, your journey, kind of, where you grew up and how you ended up in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I kind of grew up in music. Both my parents played. My dad's a drummer. My mom played piano, clarinet, saxophone. So I kind of got into music pretty early on. Piano lessons throughout elementary school. Played trombone through high school. I found bass guitar under my parents' bed about 2 months before Christmas, and could not hide the fact that I'd found it, and they knew. So they were like, well, you might as well go get it. So I think I was 13 or 14 when I got that. And, my dad being a drummer, we were able to sit down in the basement and just kind of hash out back and forth. He'd, tell me how to lay back on a pocket a little bit, and hey, try this groove, try this out. And learning how to listen to what he was playing on the drums and adapting, a bass line to craft around what he does. And I feel like starting that at a pretty young age was definitely helpful.
Oh, yeah.
To
100%.
being able to communicate, what I mean, musically without having to, use words, especially on stage. And yeah, from there, different bands and iterations in high school and jazz bands and, all that kind of stuff. I ended up going to school for music. I went to Berklee College of Music up in Boston, where I met some great players, just great people.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people in Nashville that came here via the way of Berklee.
Yeah. And they I think they still do it, but they used to do the spring break trip where people that were at the school would hop in a bus or a flight or whatever and come down to Nashville for the week and tour studios and talk to pros that are in the industry, get advice.
Place to be.
And I had a lot of friends that I had graduated right before that were going on the Berklee trip down to Nashville, and I was living back in Atlanta at the time, which is where I live now, or where I lived after I graduated, and decided to come up for the trip because they were all coming down, and got to hang out with all of them for the week, got to see everything that's going on. Atlanta was kind of happening. I was busy playing, but there was a lot of 4 a.m., 4-hour bar gigs, and I was playing some different church circuits too, but coming off of a Saturday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning and getting up 3 hours later,
trying not to look
as inebriated as I was, and then
just like
playing 4 services on a Sunday.
Stumbling into church. That's a lot.
So it was it was a lot of fun music. I mean, I loved playing rock. The rock scene in Atlanta was huge. A lot, obviously, R&B and hip hop was huge. Yeah. So I got into that. I had a 6-string bass. I held it really high. Like I looked the part. I loved it.
There.
Went to a lot of cool open mics and stuff like that. It really cut my teeth in live playing in Atlanta like that. But it was always like, hey, we'll pay $250 for the show or pay $300 for the show. And then you finish the show and you're packing your stuff up. And they're like, yeah, so it's like $40 because we didn't sell enough tickets. And I'm like, I can't do this kind of work anymore. Like, it was not paying for my gas to get there and back. So I kind of made a decision after that trip, hanging out with my friends, that I was going to make the move to Nashville and got plugged into the scene pretty quick. I think also just being a bass player. Right. There's a lot of guitar players, a lot of drummers, a lot of songwriters, singers, that kind of thing going on here. So I was kind of able to connect with the people I knew from school, and they were kind of piece me into a couple of things here and there. And one of my first gigs in Nashville was with an artist named Sarah Buxton.
Okay.
Who a drummer friend of mine from Berklee had been playing with. And we were trying to line up a time to meet, kind of see if we would vibe, if she wanted to hear me play, do like an audition thing. And we could never really get dates to line up. She was already pretty busy touring. And so I was actually in a recording session with this drummer. His name's Steve Sinatra, name drop. He he had Sarah surprise us in the studio, and I didn't know she was going to be there while we were tracking. And we would finish tracking a tune, went in to go listen to it. She was there. I was like, oh, hey, it's nice to meet you. You know, finally, like after like a month of trying to figure out how we could connect.
Yeah.
And she was listening to the track we were recording, and she just kind of turned around and was like, yeah, you got this gig if you want it. And I was like, let's go.
Nice.
So
nice.
Toured with her with a bunch of great guys. Had a blast with that tour. Really cut my teeth on like bus living, you know, that whole touring musician lifestyle. And from there, you know, toured with her for a few years. And then I was actually living in a band house with a bunch of guys that were in this group called King Billy. And I'd gone to see them a couple of times at 3rd and Lindsley and a couple other, you know, bars in town, and was obsessed. I mean, the musicianship was insane. A lot, which I really appreciated. I'm a huge fan of like, I guess you'd call it like muso, a style of music where it's like there's a lot of, you know, a lot of musical intelligence in the writing of the music and what the musicians are doing. It's not just like the indie rock, let's just go, it sounds fine. You know, it was very methodical and very thought out. And all the guys in the band were 10 out of 10 as far as their knowledge would go on music. So I was like, these guys are sick. And their bass player at the time had double booked, and they needed somebody to go with them to Knoxville and then play also a show in town the day after. And he was already gone on the bus, and I was not on the road that weekend. So they were like, are you able to sub? And I knew if there was a show, I'd seen it a couple times, and I was like, we're leaving tonight for Knoxville. Like, this music is so, yeah, we'll try. Yeah. So we're in this van.
I mean, given that you knew their stuff, you're probably a better pick than most.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it enough to. I knew it was required.
Right.
You know, it wasn't gonna be like, oh, here's the tracks, and then I'd just show up on stage and be like, whoa, this is what's happening. You know, it was more, okay. I knew it was gonna be some work, but I was like very excited about it. Charted the tunes in the van on the way there. Played the show. Played the next show the next night, and their producer and manager at the time had kind of went up to him and was like, hey, what's going on? Where's the bass player? Who's this guy? And they were like, hey, double booked. He's on a bus, and we had these 2 shows we had to do. And he's like, well, this guy's, I'm never forget. Charlie Worsham actually told me Trey was talking to all of them, you know, after the shows. And he was like, man, this guy's pocket is funky and bold. He's like, I think it's a really good mix for the band. So they asked me if I wanted to do that, jumped into that with them. We did that for 7-8 years, pretty hard.
Wow.
Had some success doing some work with GAC, and had a couple of deals on the table, but you know, management had advised us against signing these things, blah blah, and eventually it all just fizzled out.
So when did you actually get to Nashville?
I moved to Nashville in 2006. I think. It was kind of December, January 2005, 2006, I think is what it was.
So this is just a kind
almost
of timeline.
20 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So after jamming out with those guys for a while, we all decided to kind of split up. I had gone back to Mellow Mushroom to see if I could get my job back flipping pies, and they weren't hiring at the time. So I was like, I'll find a job somewhere just to get me by until the next thing pops up. And man, I couldn't find anything. I was struggling. Every sign I went to with hiring and blah, blah. I almost joined the military. I'd seen the military band perform, and I was like, these guys are great. Like, this would be fun. I'll go do this. And they're like, yeah, you have to go through basic training. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Get in shape. That sounds fine. You're going to have to cut off your dreads. So I was like, a lot of work.
everything else I'm fine with, but
I can pull it back. I'll do pull-ups. Like, what do I'm going to be playing bass. Like, I'll be all right. So that ended up not working out. I ended up selling life and health insurance for a while, which was kind of I mean, important, but also a little depressing, like walking into people's homes and just talking about the inevitable death. And did that for a while. And then, funny enough, the same drummer that was on the Sarah Buxton gig, who connected me with Sarah and got that whole thing working, was now putting a band together for a new artist named Hunter Hayes. And asked if I would be interested in auditioning. And I was like, yeah. I mean, selling life and health insurance was not my end goal. So I was like, let's do it. And gave me the music. Cause I'd never really done an official like audition before.
Right. Last time you were just playing in the studio and that just happened.
I didn't even know she was
the
there.
Easiest audition you've probably ever done.
Or subbing in, just coming in and then be like, hey, do you want to do this? So I was a little nervous about the process. I drilled the tunes. It ended up being just Steve on drums, me on bass, and then Hunter with the guitar, and just the three of us. And we rocked through the tunes, did them again, felt great about them. And then he kind of said, he kind of turned around to both Steve and I and was like, hey, I'm just going to make something up. I don't want you guys to just like improvise with me. Just kind of go with it, see where it goes. So he starts riffing on this sick little funky like guitar part on a Strat, and we let it groove for a minute, and Steve kind of came in with some low, just building up kind of an intensity, like we'll see where this is going to go. And I kind of matched with Steve and just went for it. And I mean, I'd been playing with Steve already we were roommates in college. Like,
right. So you knew
I
each
knew
other.
him inside and out. So I knew what he was going to do before he was going to do it. And when it hit, I mean, we jammed for probably 15, 20 minutes, just going for it. Like,
nice.
Solos, trading things off, like breakdowns, and none of it was verbal communication. It was all like looking at each other and guitar hit, or motions and stuff like that, and just listening and hearing what's happening in the room. What sounds right to play right now? Should I lay out completely for a minute? Just let this go for a second, see what happens, and maybe I'll come in on a lower root and change the chord progression completely, and that would excite Hunter. I would say like, ooh, whoa, like what? That's a cool change. That just happened, and Steve is just back there trying to keep a serious face, but also smiling. Like he was definitely like, this is too much fun.
Life.
And a couple days after that, he called me and said I had the gig, and jumped out with him. And I played with him on the road for 9 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
And pretty much got to do everything that I'd ever imagined possible as a touring musician.
Right. I mean, he came out to the UK, Europe, you got to travel.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when you first get that call, obviously, your friend's already there saying, hey, like, it already is a good thing for the audition because, you know that he's not going to steer you wrong. But also, as much as you hate your job, you're coming out of something that is like guaranteed money to go on the road with a brand new artist who doesn't really have anything behind him. There's no guarantee that it's going to work out. I mean, that must be kind of daunting to throw everything in there. Or for you, was it like there wasn't really another choice? Like, this is...
Well, I would rather make half as much and enjoy what I was doing than make all the money selling life and health insurance and hate my job. Okay. So it was definitely one of those things where, I mean, also just in getting to meet Hunter, play with him in that small window that I was in that audition room.
Because, I mean, he's a proper musician as well. Like, for a lot of there's a lot of people that come through Nashville and a lot of artists that, they're artists and they'll write and vocally they're fantastic. Sure. But like Hunter is kind of whole package.
Yeah, a little all-encompassing. Yeah. It really is. He, and I could tell that in the audition, even just in listening to the tracks, the first few tracks that Steve gave me. It was definitely one of those things where I was like, man, this production's great. Who produced this? Oh, cool. Dan Huff produced it. This is great. Who played on this? Oh my gosh, Hunter played every note. Like, what? On that first record? What?
Yeah.
Like, bass fills that, like, I had to sit down and, like, slow down and drill. I was like, man, this kid is...
Damn.
He is there. Like, and then the drums, I mean, it blew my mind. So I already knew the kid was a prodigy. And, like, it was gonna take off.
Right.
It was just a matter of like a little bit of timing correctness and then also getting filled into the right spots. So grab this opening slot, now we'll do a little headlining thing in some clubs. Now we'll do another opening slot. Now we'll do a headlining thing in theaters. Now we're doing multi-nights in theaters.
And all of a sudden,
management behind him was so smart.
I was going
in
to
the way
say,
they played
and because of his selling point of that first record with him playing everything, it was a lot easier for the label to come in. They wanted to push him because this was something that you didn't always get from an artist.
Right.
And the second you've got that label backing to really go, we need this kid out there, I mean, they will make it work. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's how it lasted for as long as it did too. At least with that original iteration of the band.
Yeah.
We ended up taking our keys guy, who was his name was Sam Ellis. He's an amazing producer and songwriter in his own right. Here in Nashville now, and but he was playing keys, and we ended up pushing him to auxiliaries and hiring another keys player who was a real good friend of mine, still one of my best friends, Andy Sheridan, who we played with some shows where he was playing with Phil Vassar. So it was kind of like, hey, as we're adding people, let's add the people we want. And one thing about that camp, from management all the way to crew and everybody in between, there was a closeness and almost like a family vibe that I really had only experienced. I really only experienced that with King Billy, and it was because we all lived in a house together. We were in each other's business all the time, and we're also all equals. So it was very, you know what I mean? There was just you can't offend, everything is super, just like we're brothers, you know what I mean? Like there were, not fist fights, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you was a family, and there was always the goal, which was to keep, the music going and to make it the best it can be every night, but also just the vibe, even off the road.
Well, I mean, there's that thing, right? And I know as a touring musician, or even just touring at all with whatever camp you're sitting in, is that it is, 40% being a great musician, 10%, I don't know what the 10% is, but then like 50% of just being a good hang, knowing that you have to spend so much time around these people that, okay, sure, you're on stage for an hour and a half, 2 hours for a headline show. But when you're off stage, you don't all get to go your separate ways, especially when you're out on tour. You just get stuck back on a bus that you're on for, potentially 10, 12 hours at a time, dependent on where you're going.
Yeah.
And there's no space. If you can't get along with people and you can't be a good time to be around,
it doesn't work out.
Then it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And those, I've been fortunate enough to be, I think, in enough camps that I haven't experienced too much of that going on, which has been awesome. I have heard the horror stories of that, and it is a bummer, and these people always do find their place in another band that they maybe do get along with better. But I don't know. I think everybody had so much excitement with that project from the beginning that it was kind of like, where is this going to go? Right. And I'm just holding on for dear life to see where this dragon takes off to,
Oh, sure.
And it was like that, for the entire time that I was with them. It was incredible. What a great experience.
And you did CMA Fest. I say, was C2C Festival didn't exist.
C2C, yep. We did that. That was what was that, like at the O?
Yeah.
In London. And then there was some kind of funky looking place in Ireland. I can't remember what the venue was called, but it looks like a giant swirly. I
wanted to say something. The SSC. I think that's Glasgow.
It might have been that one too in Glasgow.
I don't remember.
But
I'm out the loop there.
That was incredible. Asia was incredible. Australia.
Just to be able to travel the world, doing what you love with a bunch of people that you also love. I mean, what an incredible experience.
Couldn't beat it. Yeah. I mean, I have just so many, countless stories that I will remember forever, that there's nothing that could have made any of that experience any better, because it was exactly what the best thing you could imagine would be.
That's all.
You know,
That's all.
and there was that feeling the whole time, which was
the
which
entire
was great.
9 years.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
never, you know, there was never like a dip where you're like,
Nah.
just
Yeah, I
let's
mean, you
keep
had your-
going.
you had
Yeah,
your- Your
course.
qualms here and there, you know, of
yeah,
course.
but I mean, just
you mix in
across
enough
the board.
alcohol, that's going to happen.
Right.
So, but you know, yeah, I mean, even those experiences were best, and they're fun to look back at now and be like,
Right.
wow, what an idiot I was, or what an
So
idiot that
cool.
person was.
Right. It's a learning curve, like that whole thing. You know, you get all these experiences that are first, probably, you know, for a lot of you going, for you guys and for Hunter and growing up. So yeah, you know, it's a big learning curve to look back and go, okay.
It's, you know, it set the bar really high. I do remember after leaving Hunter's camp, you know, it was kind of touch and go with a couple of projects and some things that I was kind of excited about, and then they never really came to fruition, or I was massively let down, you know, by some of the people that we were on the tour with. I'll leave their names out, but they know who they are, and so does everybody else in town.
I'll just put some beeps in. Sound like we're saying their names. No.
But you know, I'm in a great place now too. I think you know, I got married while I was with Hunter, and also had my first kid when I was with Hunter. And we were so busy that I feel like I did kind of miss out on a lot of those first couple of years of my oldest daughter's life. I mean, obviously I was there
Right.
for a lot of it, but you know, when you're going away every weekend, you're only really seeing her for 2 or 3 days a week. You know, it's like you see the development happening so quickly, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed this.
Right. Yeah,
I
like
can't
when
believe I
they're
missed
little,
this.
it happens
It's
so quick.
So, I'd kind of made a decision, to maybe stay off the road. Still some road stuff, but nothing like, you know, I mean, I think there were some years with Hunter that we were out 250, 260 days a year.
Wow.
And so I just wasn't really looking for anything like that again. Also, you know, while I was touring so heavily with Hunter and, you know, bringing home the bacon, it was like my wife had this idea of managing short-term rentals, and to start that off the ground, she knew it was going to be, you know, little to no income for a while, maybe even a lot of investing some into starting a new business. And we kind of sat down and talked about it, like, hey, do you think I could, you know, stop doing what I'm doing and focus on trying to build this business, and you think you could float us for a while? And I was like, yeah, like, no problem. We had a little house we were renting in East Nashville. So I was like, yeah, we got this, like, absolutely. And here we are 10 years later, and, you know, that's gone gangbusters. And that gives me the freedom now to kind of say yes or no to the gigs I want to, and also just be home and be a dad, which is way more important to me than playing.
It's all about the passive income. That's
yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, and that's awesome, because it is a real hard line, especially with music, you know, because it's hard if you're entirely reliant on that as your income. That then makes it very hard to say no to work.
Yeah.
Because if you say no, then maybe you don't get asked for this other job. But if you can, you know, still be available, but know that you've got a little more freedom, that's really nice. Yeah. So you're mainly working in town.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Studio sessions. Yep. And I know obviously when I spoke to you, you were playing with the Chattahoochies.
Yeah.
Who I just had on as well.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
So that was obviously during CMA Fest.
Yep.
But is that kind of the goal now, as you'll do things kind of here and there around town?
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been playing with the Chattahoochies now for probably about 1.5 years, I think. Cree had hit me up, and I've known Cree since the King Billy days, you know, when she was 16, just singing, doing the thing, amazing vocalist. You know, I was just like, we were all kind of under the same management / publishing together. So, you know, I'd known her really well anyway. And when I found out she was doing this Chattahoochies thing, and she asked me if I'd come play bass, and I was like, absolutely, let's go. And I knew Megan, the drummer. She was phenomenal drummer. Her pocket is just, I don't have to think when I play with her. Right. It's just like, let's go, you know? We crush it. Ellen's great guitar player.
Phenomenal.
She crushes the parts. She can, she sounds like 3 guitar players, playing at once. It's incredible to keep a full sound like that with just 3 musicians and no tracks. It's a feat for sure. And I love the music. I never really grew up playing traditional country. It wasn't really anything in my wheelhouse, but after moving to Nashville, being around it so much, you can't not be.
I have a friend who's in town, and he moved. I guess he moved probably just over 15 years ago, and he came from Philadelphia, and he was doing his indie rock stuff.
Yeah.
And I always remember that he said when he moved, his parents were like, "Do not go country. Whatever you do, do not go to Nashville and go country." And he's like, "Of course, I'm not going to do that. I hate country music." Blah, blah, blah. 2 years in, cowboy hat, recorded a song with the Nashville bluegrass.
Yeah.
And it was if you're going to do it, you just jump.
Yeah.
You can't be here.
No.
I think it's impossible to be here and not at least gain an appreciation for the genre. Now it's a lot more eclectic than what it was even 10, 15 years ago.
For sure.
Now you can move here and you could just move here and be a rock artist or multitude of other things. There's something for everyone, but you can't get away from it. There's no way to be here and just not somehow somewhere sink into that little bubble.
You're gonna get bit by it. Yeah, you do. And it's I love it. It's even though it's not something I grew up playing, never something in my practice routine where I wanted to shed and learn something and felt a massive amount of passion for. Once you really start doing it, once I first moved to town, especially playing with King Billy, a couple of these guys were massive bluegrassers, and I had never listened to bluegrass. And after them showing me that entire genre, I was just like, this is insane musicianship.
Bluegrass is like the heavy metal of country.
It really is. God, you electrify and run that through some distortion pedals, and it is death metal. Yeah, it is. And I love it. So I was like, I'd love to stretch that muscle a little more. And this being able to play with the Chattahoochies really allows me to kind of work that side of my playing. And I play a 4-string Bill Nash bass that's got flat wounds on it, which works so well with that genre. The tone it gets, it's a quick delay. There's a quick decay on every note that you hit. I like to palm mute on it a lot, and that just works so well in their records. You can hear that that's the kind of playing it is.
They've got that real kind of, for anyone who hasn't heard them or checked out the previous episode with them on, it's modern influenced kind of classic country.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, yeah.
With a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
In the best possible way.
Absolutely.
So it's still got all that kind of old classic country flair, which is great. And I see why that sound would work perfect.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Plus I knew the players, and I was like, oh, this is a band I want to.
Oh, they're amazing players, so. And that really just goes to show what Nashville is like as well.
Absolutely.
That both those ladies play with my friends on regular basis. So, just there is never a loss for phenomenal musicians in this town.
No, definitely.
Everywhere you turn. So as well as the Chattahoochies, you are.
I'm playing with JT Hodges as well, who is. It's really funny. While we were kind of in the first couple of years starting off with Hunter, JT was also starting off. And there were, we had a couple of, bus hangs with his crew or whatever like that. And I just remember him and his drummer Mitch and, his band. We had a blast in their bus, and then they'd come over to our bus and we'd have a blast. And there was always this kind of excitement about all of us being, new and green and starting off and these big opening slots and, oh my God, we're at this fair together. Awesome. Yeah. That kind of even cross camp brotherhood, you know what I mean? Where it's obviously we had our core, but they have such a cool core too. It's like, let's just make this a big party,
I love
you know?
that.
And so, you know, we had toured with JT quite a bit, doing a lot of the same kind of shows, festivals. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I got a call from JT. He was like, "Hey, man, yeah, I got a gig here coming up, and I'm looking for a bass player. Do you think you'd be interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely!" Like, so stoked. Yeah, like who's playing? And Justin Eason was playing guitar, who played with Hunter. And I was like, "Oh, this is probably the connection here."
Right.
Justin was like, "Oh, hit up Matt. I'm sure he could do it." And then Mitch, who had been touring with JT from the beginning, was playing drums, and he's a phenomenal drummer. So I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a blast." So we did, I think it was Pilgrimage Fest, I think was our first show. And then did like a private event up in New York where, you know, it was kind of one of those corporate kind of things. So we'll tour, you know, we'll play mostly in town. We'll do Fox and Lock 5 or 6 times a year. Any in-town festivals, we usually kind of bust those up too. And then corporate stuff, maybe 5 or 6 of those out of the year too. So it's just enough to keep me greased and keep me going and
get
having
out,
a blast.
Get you out of town,
get out with the bros, exactly. But like, you know, after about 3 days of being gone, it's like, man, I really want to be home again.
Yeah,
miss my girls, you know.
There's a lot, you know, as fun as being on the road can be, you know, it's a lot, especially when you've already done it for such a huge amount of time. I feel like so many musicians, despite the fact that when you're on stage, like everyone's got to be this big outgoing personality, everyone's just homebodies. Like, I just want to be home. And like,
that's true. That's very true. And you get used to your routines. I mean, there was, for years, I slept better on a bus than I would in a hotel or even in my own bed at home, because I was used to the movement. I was used to that lifestyle. It was hard to kind of break that cycle. And now it's completely flipped, where every once in a while, you know, we'll get on a bus and I'm just like, wow, like, how did I ever sleep on this? You know, and it's impossible. Or even hotels, like, I can't get this temperature right.
Like,
I'm down to 19 degrees Celsius and it's still like, I'm just like, no, it's too hot under the bed, but too cold outside.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Oh man, you just can't find it. Exactly, right? That's why I dropped the Celsius.
I liked it.
So it's, you know, it's one of those things where you get used to your routines. And right now my routine is definitely being a homebody. And I love that. I love still being able to get out and play, you know, having some late nights here, even in town every once in a while, having a couple of drinks, having a good time, but then being able to come back home to my own bed, kiss the kids goodnight, wake up the next day, make breakfast, do laundry, go, you know?
So you got your couple of bits that get you out on the road and out playing. But what about studio work? Like, how does that kind of fit into?
Yeah. So there's, you know, you kind of have your pockets of players that you become friends with are huge for getting you work, because they like you, they like the way you play. Right. They find something comes up, hey, we need a bass player. Like, you're going to be the person they reach out to. And I feel like the same thing kind of happens in studio worlds, but it's also producers. So you're going to get in touch with a producer, maybe that's never used you before, but they needed a bass player, and they asked the drummer, hey, who could we use on bass? Oh, let's use Utterback. Okay, cool. I've never met him. Let's try it out. Come in, and it's almost like an audition again, because this producer doesn't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to read their mind, and I'm going to play what I think, is right.
Yeah.
But also, if they want to make an adjustment, I want to be able to make that adjustment quick and make it sound like that was my natural intention, so that they can be like, yeah, this guy's great, but I'm always having to either go in and tell him to do something different, or, you know, eventually producers like you so much, they just don't even care. You show up, you plug in, they're like, play the song 3 or 4 times. Yeah, we got it on bass. Not even worrying about, you know, are you sure? Do you want me to change? Do you want me to do something? Like, no, man, it's great. Everything's good to go. Nice. And it's like, okay, so you kind of find your producers you work with. One I like to work with right now is Justin Klump. I think he's kind of on the threshold of doing some great things. We've done some traditional country, some more rocking country, some more independent kind of, you know, vibes. And it's fun that that you can work with a producer that has such versatility in different genres, and it isn't just so pigeonholed into doing one thing.
Right.
And I like to fancy myself that way as a bass player too.
I think it helps to really pull out people's creativity when you've got influences coming from kind of all over the place. You know, sometimes it can be chaotic and not work, but if you know how to hone all that, it gives you those like little nuances.
Absolutely. And there's some genres that obviously aren't going to bleed very well into other genres. A couple of years ago, I finally knocked out my 50th state. It was a gig I played in Alaska. It was the only state I'd never played a gig in.
Is there anyone that is no one in Alaska?
Very few. We flew into the airport and hung out in Anchorage for a little bit, and then my wife and Sophie, my oldest daughter, all went on the trip with me, and we decided to just hang out there for a week because none of us had ever been to Alaska. We wanted to check it out, so wanted to hike, wanted to see animals, wanted to kind of embrace everything that state has to.
I feel like everything I've ever seen, just everything is so rural. I guess Anchorage is just it's just another city. Like
it's not very big. Some good food, but a lot of tourism because that's where kind of one of the hubs that everybody's going to get into. But we went and spent some time up in Palmer, which is a little farther north, and found some great hiking trails up there.
Nice.
We stayed in an RV one night on somebody's property. Swore we heard a bear and thought something bumped the RV in the middle of the night, which was hilarious. But that was with a band at the time. Their name was Static Cycle, but the name of the band now is Zillion, and it's full on heavy metal. Where half the set I played bass, the other half of the set I played synth bass on a guitar. So it was like, it was very, very outside of my wheelhouse. I never really grew up listening to heavy metal. I loved rock, but actually Andy, the keyboard player from Hunter, was the producer of some of these tracks, and it was also playing guitar in this group. So it was like, oh yeah, cool. I'll come and do this. Of course. Why not? Let's see if we can. And we played a few shows together and had a blast. And obviously, like I said, he knocked out my 50th state. So that was kind of a cool. But that's now something, knowing now having a little bit of this heavy metal in my wheelhouse is not something I can just bring into a bluegrass session and be like, check this, guys.
Yeah, let's do
what if we did this? But a lot of times is having that versatility of the genres will help out.
Yeah.
Especially between like this, kind of alternative rock and country, which is what I feel like I grew up really loving and playing.
I feel like lines are getting more blurred now as like what country music is just starting to kind of expand, Yeah. It's still country, but it's just a slightly different branch of it, and it is pulling in some of that other influence that it didn't, 5-10 years ago even.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's such a big genre that it almost needs to have all those subsets, because if it didn't, it'd be like, what is that like? Like when you're trying to get a bunch of something through a pipe and there's too much of it and it just clogs one end and it's not gonna come out. Well, it's like we needed multiple pipes for it to all be able to filter out so everybody can enjoy.
Still get into the same place, but it's just coming in a different way.
Absolutely, and it has to be like that because Nashville is not a very big city, but considering how much music there is in Nashville, you got to be able to split it up a little bit. And that's what you were saying too, with rock being, you can come to Nashville and just be a rock guy or a rock girl. And you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into, I'm moving to Nashville, so I got to be country. It's like, no, there's everything here. I mean, I was producing a hip hop artist for fun when I was with King Billy. This guy just heard a track I'd done with some of my bandmates. We were sitting around, we're usually playing video games or watching something stupid on TV while we're enjoying inebriating ourselves. And I was like, let's do something a little more creative. Let's like what if we did like hip hop songs for kids? Something that still sounds hard, but like has a positive message, so that these like 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds aren't listening to like songs about, stuff they shouldn't be listening to.
Right.
So So we kind of did it for fun, and my buddy at the time was listening to it at a restaurant that he was working at in the kitchen, and this dishwasher walked by, and I was like, "What is this? What are you listening to?" He's like, "Oh, my roommate, like we kind of sat down and we recorded some of these like hip hop songs for kids." And he was like, "I love these beats." He's like, I'd like to meet him." And so my buddy Misa brought him to the house. We met, hung out a little bit. He spit a few lines for me, and I was like, wow, like, let's go. And so we kind of started collaborating hard for like 6 months. I don't even know how many songs were recorded, but we just went for it, just to see like what we could do. He was taking vocalist CDs at the time to venues and being able to do, shows essentially without a band or anything like that, with just my tracks.
Right.
And, a dub track that would double his vocal here and there. But and I went out to a few of those shows and saw, and I was like, we always had the dreams of like, oh, let's put this with a band and blah, blah, blah. And, life happens and people get busy and things change. And I'm on the road now.
Right.
This just kind of like disappeared. But I do still enjoy doing a little producing on my own right too. My daughter has been taking piano lessons for a couple of years. There's never anything I wanted to like push on her. I just wanted she was interested in it.
Right.
Let's keep showing her stuff, see if she likes to do it. And she's a total ham. We do karaoke nights at our house now, and it's her show. You know what I mean? We did a show with JT. I think she was 4. She's 6 now. She was 4 at the time and was dancing up at the front of the stage, and we're playing Rolling Stones, "They Can't Always Get What You Want." And at the end of the song, you try sometimes, you might find. And he was like, "Hey, Sophie, come here." And pulled her up to stage. And he whispers, "Hey, say, you get what you need." And so he hands her the mic, and she just goes, "You get what you need," in this cutest little 4-year-old's voice. And the place erupted. And she just dropped the mic by her side and was instantly like, oh my gosh, this amazing power. Like, so she caught the bug that night, I'm convinced. And ever since then, it's been like, it's been, impossible to keep her off the piano. She loves it. She loves to keep playing. She loves to write. She likes to listen to movie music, which I'm a huge fan of. And she'll figure out themes. We watched Jurassic Park the other night, which may or may not have been appropriate for a 6-year-old, but I was like, they're not around anymore. You're fine. And she was obsessed with the music. And so she went to her room and figured out how to play the Jurassic Park theme. She became a fan of John Williams through that. She loves E.T. She figured out those themes on the piano. She just kind of like, she loves using her ear to figure stuff out. And I'm like, I do encourage that, but I'm also like, hey, also get the knowledge behind it.
Right.
Let's learn why this chord progression works, or what this modal interchange, because she doesn't know these terms yet, but I'm training her ear to at least recognize what they are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's like, she knows what she likes about music and knows what she doesn't like, and can hear the coincidences or the similarities between things that may be even different genres. But she's like, ooh, I really like this progression, Dad. What is that? Because it's the same as this My Little Pony song. And I'm like, you're right, it is. Like,
that's what.
So it's cool to see she's into it.
Yeah, that's really cool to see like how much she can pick up at such a young age as well. It just goes to show like it's how, what's the word? Just, I guess kids are just such like a sponge, especially with stuff like that as long as it is there and in front of them, they will learn it. Because I feel like that's something you wouldn't expect from a 6-year-old for the you're not gonna, most 6-year-olds are not gonna be able to, they're not even gonna think about it.
No.
But she's been brought up around it, and she's surrounded, and it's just, it sounds like it's kind of just a second nature thing for her, which is awesome.
And that's kind of how it was with me too. Like, I just assumed in growing up all through elementary school that everybody just played music all the time. When you're like, I went to go see my dad play countless times a year, with different groups and top 40 bands and stuff like that. And
like, this isn't what parents, everyone does.
I was like, oh, this is just normal. I guess music is just something everybody does. And then you grow up and you realize, that's not very normal at all.
Right.
So she sees me charting tunes and working on bass. Hey, what are you working on? Oh, check it out. I'm working on this, and turn it up and I'll play a little bit. She's like, oh, it's really cool. And she'll hop on the piano next to me for a second and just like try to figure out, is this the key? And I'm like, yeah, it is. Actually, good job, And
I think as a kid, it makes that possible because it's, for most people who aren't involved with music, to look at it as a job and as something that could actually be a career is not that easy.
Yeah.
Like it's a hobby, right? It's just something you like to do. The idea of that being a full-time income is, I guess, just a little strange to people who aren't in the music industry.
Absolutely.
So to be able to now bring her up, and like you were brought up knowing that, you know, actually this is an option. This is like a viable option on the table for me. Even if she decides, you know, at some point down the road, like she doesn't really want to do music.
For sure.
It's like, I love that it will always be like an open door for her, and that I can do it. Because I think being able to harness that creativity, whether it's music or anything else, artsy and creative, that is always looked upon a little like, again, just not really looked upon like a career, like whether that's acting or art. It's something you do on the side as a hobby with your like 9-to-5 office
Absolutely.
job.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that she could be in that scenario.
And it's, you know, it's one of those things too where it's like, you know, everybody's always heard that music is a language, and it's like, why not learn to speak this, especially at such a young age? You know, when you introduce somebody to it that early, I like to be able to communicate with her like that. You know, we've sat down and written together a couple of times just for funsies. You know, never like, no, we need to do this now. You know, just like, oh, you want to mess around with this? It's kind of cool. What do you think about it? You know, and just see if she grabs onto it, and she does. And you know, she really does love to sing. And I love her little voice, but I told her, I was like, you're not going to be just a singer. Like, that's one thing I will put my foot down. I was like, there's too many just singers, and they get up on stage and don't have the musicianship or the musical knowledge behind what makes music, and they can immediately get lost on stage and be like, oh, that turn was twice as long, and now I don't know where we are in the song.
Right.
Do I start the verse now? Or you guys playing the verse? It's like, you doing a live show, you're just falling flat on your face, and it looks horrible, and sounds even worse. So it's like, you know, I want her to, if she does want to pursue music as a career, and even as just a singer, having the backbone of music underneath it, I think will make her more versatile
100%.
And give her way more confidence on stage.
100%. There's a lot
she wants to do.
It's easy to just kind of focus on that like one thing. But I think in order to be the best in really anything, whether it's music or anything else, I think you have to understand what's going on around you and how all of that make, like how the finished product comes out.
Absolutely.
Whether that is, you know, performing or anything else.
Yeah.
So I think, as a musician, like you say, even growing up with your dad and being able to play bass with him on drums. I mean, your bass and drums on your rhythm section is the driving force of every single song. So had you have just picked up a bass and been like, well, I want to learn bass guitar, not that you wouldn't have done well at it, but there's that little something extra you get understanding how that works.
Oh yeah.
With the drummer.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of the first times, I think a lot of people's first shows ever were, I would say, is the church gig. And that was definitely my first shows ever were at a church. So, and he would be playing drums. And I remember, you know, playing and looking at the music and, you know, playing along with it and just thinking I'm having a good time. And my dad just looking at me like, I don't know, like literally yelling at me from behind the little, you know, plexiglass drum shield. You know, I sit back, like let it. And then I'd be like, what does he mean? But then I would just try something different and be like, yes, that's it.
And you're like, oh, this is how
and
it
would
feels.
Click for me. And I was like, I get this now. Like, okay, like that makes a lot of sense. And then kept that as my focus for a long time, you know, until it just became second nature and you don't have to think about it anymore. So I definitely think those kind of influences can make a very positive impact on your musicianship and how you decide you want to take it in the future, you know?
So one thing that has come up a few times as well, and I know that when you have people that are creative, is that it rarely stops with just that musical outlet. I mean, like, and also when you're playing music every day, doesn't matter how much you love it, it still becomes work. to a degree, and I feel like there always needs to be that kind of like downtime of what do you do to kind of decompress outside of playing and still keeping that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. First thing obviously when you're on the road, I think you are so busy with it that there's barely really any time for other hobbies or when we were as busy as we were at the busiest. It was just kind of like, this is what we're doing all the time. Other than that, we are eating, going to the bathroom, taking showers, or drinking alcohol. It was like, this is all we have time for, that was it. But as things started to slow down and I was kind of able to be in this new season of life where I'm able to kind of have a lot more home time and a lot more downtime, or, being there for the kiddos, being there for my wife. It's helping her with the business now. I realized that there was a lot of time still that I could fill now with doing something else. Or what other things should I be working on? I think, me coming off the road happened right before COVID hit. So I kind of made the decision that I wasn't going to go on the road anymore without thinking about having any fear at all of what was going on in the world.
Right.
Yet. It hadn't been announced. Nothing had happened yet. And so when that hit, it was kind of like, well, this has to happen now. So I was like, well, that worked out conveniently. But at that point, everybody had all the free time in the world. So I was like, well, what can I get into? Like, I got to learn something. And then obviously I think everybody was a little afraid of what the state of the world was going to be. So
yeah.
I was like, maybe I should learn some more like life skill, like, survival-ish kind of things. Let me just dip my foot in it, So, a buddy of mine, drummer, he actually played drums in King Billy. He's an avid hunter, phenomenal hunter. And so is the singer, Donnie. He's also the drummer's name is Kevin Weaver and Donnie Fallgatter. And they both, hunt quite a bit, and kind of were just talking to me at house parties, getting the families together. And I had an interest in it. So I was like, I'm going to try some stuff out. So I shot his bow a little bit. And I was like, okay, obviously he's like, this isn't set up for your arm length and blah, blah, but we'll get you set up with something. He called me like 2 days later. He's like, hey, I found this used Matthews bow at a pawn shop for like $200. He's like, it's sick. I think you need to get it restrung, get it sized for you with the right cams, and try it out. See what you think. And I'll sit in the backyard now as a decompression and just fire 30 to 60 arrows. At all different ranges, different elevations, to kind of, understand what's happening with something I've never really experienced before, right? And it's one of those things where I've heard Rogan say this over and over again too, but it's one of those things where it's like, it takes such an intense amount of focus to be really good at it, that if you have something else going on in your life, or you're thinking about something else, or, oh, I got to remember to do that, or, oh, this is going on tomorrow, I got to remember, or, oh my gosh, I forgot, I got to do this. Like, that arrow is going anywhere other than where you want it. You have to be able to shut it all off. And I think that's a really good practice for a lot of areas in life, to be able to shut off your brain and focus on doing a task.
Yeah.
Whether it's, installing a faucet over a kitchen sink, or, if it is just shooting arrows, or if it is recording a bass line in your little home studio for somebody, being able to shut out the world completely and give this all of your attention, I think is a really, really good practice. So much so that I do love hunting now. That's one thing I've definitely gotten into. I think it's getting out in the middle of the woods, freezing cold, sitting in a tree stand or stalking, and trying to be as quiet as you can. There's something that, like, there's an appreciation for it, and there's a feeling I get from it that I never would have gotten, that I never got with music. That was more of I don't know if it's like almost like a primitive alligator brain satisfaction, where it's like, it's not until we sit down at the table and we're all eating the meat from a deer that I harvested that I look around and I'm like, I'm feeding my family something that I killed in the woods.
Right.
Like, this is incredible. And it's such an intense feeling, almost tears. You're like, it's so intense knowing that I provided in a way other than like, oh, I went and played a bunch of shows and I got paid and we were able to buy it. It's like, no, I harvested this myself. I worked to cut the meat out. The steps that you have to take to
like
even get the whole thing. It's incredible. And the end result is so much different than the satisfaction you get from playing a show or playing a bass on a recording or something. It's more, it's closer to the this is what needs to happen and then making it happen than like any other thing I've ever done in my life. So that's one thing I love to do. Another thing I do love to do is jiu-jitsu. I just got into that about 6 months ago. Pretty heavy. I guess it's been about a year. I've had to take some breaks here and there from injuries, which do happen, but it's a great class. I do it over at Team Sean Hammonds. It's right off Armory. It's a great environment, great guys, young, old, all different belts, all different,
Nice.
You roll with anybody and everybody that's there. The last half of the class, you're fighting to the death. And I'm so wiped by the end of a class.
Oh, I feel like martial arts, like there's obviously the physically demanding part of it, but also I feel like there's a lot of mental like focus that you need for it. Like it works everything.
Yeah, it really does. It's the only thing. I've never done any other martial art before in my life, so I can't speak for the feelings that I would get from doing anything else other than, doing with gi. So I don't do the no gi jiu-jitsu, which I would be interested in, but I've always heard that it's easier to start with gi, which is where you're wearing the robe and you have the belt and the pants.
Yeah.
It's easier to start with that because you have a lot more to grab. You're using all those kind of things, but the thing I love about it, and this is the way it was described to me, is that even though it is physically demanding and you are going to leave this class soaking in sweat and completely wiped out, he was like, there's so much more chess almost involved into it, where like you recognize a move somebody's going to go for and you're trying to think 2 steps ahead of them. Like, I'm going to go ahead and give you this arm so that you think you're going to be able to do this. And then as you're getting that, I grab this collar and all of a sudden I'm on your back, and it's so, but that's happening.
Right.
In
it's split
instant,
second.
Exactly. So, I'm only a white belt. I haven't graduated to a blue belt yet, but you start to recognize the little patterns. It starts to make sense. You start to recognize what fighters do like to do. So there's a guy in the class that I know loves to do this move. I'm not going to ever give him that arm so that doesn't happen. And then people know that there's something I like to do and I recognize they're not giving me something, so you're constantly having to try to think a step ahead of the other person to get a submission or get a tap. And it's just, the physical demand of it is great. I think it's a great workout, but also the mental, gymnastics you're running in your head while you're in the middle of it, and trying to keep the fight or flight at bay and just thinking critically, but also you're still using all of your force. It's such an interesting, duality of talents. It's like there are guys. There's a guy in there that was an ex. I think he played on the Eagles, either the Eagles or the Jets, and the dude is like 370 pounds. 6'10", like it just Goliath. Like he's huge, and I rolled with him once because I just wanted to see what it was like to be in a fight with somebody that big. And it was like his first or second day, so he didn't know that many moves yet, but he did know one move really well, and it was just a cross choke, just a simple grab a gi, just trying to. He's on top, just trying to smash somebody. Crush their neck. And it was like, he'd get me close, but I would always have an arm in or something, so he wouldn't be able to get the choke. And I was just like, just knowing that I could survive that was something I wanted to kind of push myself into do.
There's so much technique to martial arts. Like, I know I have a friend in town who does it's Kung Fu Sansu.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is actually, I want to say it's the only defensive martial art. He keeps trying to get me to go to classes. Eventually I'm going to say yes. But the entire premise of that is rather than attack, the whole martial art is based on defense.
Yeah.
So how do you essentially,
swipe out a hand?
Yeah, rather than attack,
Yeah.
how do you figure out how, if someone grabs you in that mode, what's the defense to back off and stop it happening?
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But I think there's just a lot of that in all martial arts. Like, it's never as simple as just
That's
attack.
true.
There's always those, yeah.
And it's the practicality of it too. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, well, everybody's wearing clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, in learning jiu-jitsu, if I ever am in a place where I'm not able to defend myself with anything other than my bare hands, I want to be able to do it.
Right.
And I had none of those skills before.
Even if the person is double the size of you.
Yeah, exactly.
They still know that actually there are some moves that it's going to get everyone. Like the whole thing with I can't do it, but like when you grab someone's wrist.
Oh yeah, wrist
like
locks,
if you can turn it round,
yep.
It doesn't matter if
they're going down to the
100 pounds or 300 pounds, like you're done.
Yeah.
It's that, or you let your arm break.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be strong to do it because it's just the movement.
I mean, I broke this arm back in like 2009. I snapped the humerus in half hiking with a good friend of mine. And I was coming down this really steep embankment, this steep hill we're at the top of, to kind of check out this waterfall. And I was pretty close to the bottom running down this hill full speed. And I tripped on a root and went face first into the tree. Horrible. It was so loud. It sounded like a shotgun went off right next to my head.
Oof.
I got up. The whole thing was numb. Didn't hurt at all. But when I went to go, I was like, what happened to my arm? This was just hanging. And this was twisting, which is a really weird experience if you've ever broken anything.
Somehow, I don't know how, one of the clumsiest people I know. Even like ask anyone I work with, they're like, if someone's going to injure themselves, it's me. But I've never broken anything.
It is bizarre, because your whole life since you were a baby, you've learned motor skills. You've learned like, oh, if I put my arm up, I can grab this.
Right.
This is what my brain is telling me. This is going. Now it's going down, and I'm bending, and I can run, I can walk. These motor skills you've developed since as early as you can remember. This is one of those. And sure enough, I'm doing this, and my brain is telling me that my hand is going up, and it just wasn't.
Nothing.
And I was like, it's such a weird little like, wait, what? Like, it's so bizarre. But got that fixed. Great arm doctor. He got it figured out for me. But it's weird. I can't throw with this arm anymore. It sends like a sharp pain up my arm if I do. I can toss a Frisbee okay.
Has it ever affected playing? I guess,
no.
I mean, you don't really move your arm that much for bass. But
not really. I actually had them set the cast when it was getting repaired at the same height that my bass was at. So I could with my sling, get the bass on, plug the cable in, and still be able to play shows. I mean, I think not even a week after I broke it, I was playing a gig with Sarah Buxton. She called me up and asked me to play something with her at TPAC in town. And I was like, I did just break my arm. I'm taking quite a bit of Percocets for the pain, but I will be happy to join you on stage again since we toured together years ago. And we did, and we had a blast. But I had the bass set up at the height my cast was going to be at. But all that to say, it's a weakness for sure that I have now.
And now everyone knows it.
I know, right? Exactly. Like, oh, it's my left arm. Yeah, it's my left arm. No, but it's I have the strength back in it, but it gets into angles and stuff like that sometimes where it will send a sharp pain.
And you feel it.
So I'm aware of that when I'm rolling. And hasn't really affected me in class much, but it's definitely something that's kind of always lingering in the back of my head because I think it's pretty easy to probably break again. And I left the metal rod. You're always
going to have a bit of a weakness.
Yeah. I can't straighten this arm all the way.
Right.
A lot of times, if you're doing like a bench press or something, you can kind of lock your elbows, and it doesn't matter how much weight's on there, you're fine. Well, this one doesn't lock. So it's like when I extend it all the way, I'm still using force to like keep that up, and there's never a break on it. So, but yeah, I think those are two ways that I do love to kind of decompress. I know they're not creative in a sense of like, well, I like to paint or you know.
But they're it's that mental focus, I think, with them, and also just anything that just gives you a little bit of a step away from what you do in your daily grind, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
because everything at some point becomes work, even if you love it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing something over and over again, it's important to be able to find that stuff that gives you a little break.
Absolutely.
And the nice thing with both of those, you know, between the hunting and the jiu-jitsu, is that in order to be great at both of them, you have to just shut everything else out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be completely focused and, like you say, just switch off.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. But it's so funny too, the parallels even with music, even though it's not music at all, but you know, there was so much focus to become the level of musicianship that I wanted to be. There were so many hours of just drilling songs in you know, my little bedroom in the apartment, and just practicing and getting songs down, getting my speed up, getting my versatility up, learning, understanding and seeing patterns. It takes hours. Nobody can just grab a bass and be like, oh yeah, cool, I'd like to do this, and just crush it.
Right. If
know,
they could, you would be in.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody could do it, right? So it's like, I'd worked so hard and did music for such a long time. I kind of wished I would have gotten into jiu-jitsu or hunting and stuff like that early, but it's like, hey, you know what? I got into it when I did. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to do the best I can with the amount of time I have.
Right.
And wherever I end up is where I end up, you know? But I do love, it's kind of exciting starting off, well, how excited I was to start off with bass, and then, you know, a couple of years in, kind of seeing where this could take me and making decisions of like, hey, maybe I'm going to do this for life. That excitement's also there for these other things that I know are going to take years and years of honing and getting down
to
really master it. But I've done it once, and I think I could do it again.
Also, that sort of thing, like every day will be different doing it. You're never going to go into any of the things, music, you know, like you're never going to walk into the same scenario every time, which I think is also like that excitement. It's not an office job, you know. Absolutely, it's not a you know, which I think there are pros and cons to that. You know what's going to go on every day, and it can be super stressful or very stress free. But the fun of having things where every day is different, no matter what, is cool.
Yeah, I do love that.
So you do, you know, tour when you can, the studio work. Do you tend to do a lot of like if people contact you and they're like, hey Matt, like we want you to play bass on our track, you just record and send tracks outside of Nashville? Yeah,
I've done some recordings for people in other countries, people still in Atlanta, movie score stuff. This guy, a buddy of mine, wanted. He does a lot of film scoring, but he does it with a lot of soft set instruments, strings, that kind of stuff. And he had some upright parts, and he was like, "Man, if I could just get some real strings over, you know, my fake strings, like it'll make the fake one sound that much better." And that's an obvious trick, and it works very, very well. So he, you know, gave me a few songs in that score, and I set up my upright, a couple of mics, and plowed those out, which was kind of a fun project. Something a little different than just you know, okay, intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. You know, like it was like, oh, this is cool. This is a score. You know, I'm going to get into this a little bit.
There's a whole other.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I love being able to sit. I love being able to sit in my home studio and take the time that I want to take to work on something, rather than like being in a studio, which is also really fun, and recording live with people. I really do love that too. But there's always a pressure that's there to like, hey, you know, let's wrap this up. We're gonna move on to the next song.
It's always on a time limit.
Yeah, there's a time limit, especially depending on it. If you're doing master scale, not really. You could do one song a day, and it's kind of like whatever. We're gonna be in the studio all week, so it's just that's what we're doing. But like demo sessions and stuff like that, where you're having to crank out 5 tunes in a 3-hour window, it's like every song gets 45 minutes plus 5 minutes listening, or 40 minutes plus edits, guitar solos coming down. Like we really have about 20-25 minutes to record this song. And it's not that I don't like that. I actually kind of do like that pressure too, where it's like, ooh, okay, I have to nail this. Like, probably the first time I play it, definitely the second time I play it, you know?
But it's nice to be able to mix it out with the stuff where you don't always.
Exactly. So when I'm in my home studio and somebody gives me a track, you know, I'll import that into my session. I'll listen down to it. I'll make a chart. I'll kind of be thinking about while I'm making my chart where I want to come in, where, good bass ideas. I'm kind of singing them in my head while I'm charting. It's done. And I usually like to record, I like to record 3 or 4 passes. Maybe I come in middle of the first verse on one pass and I come in high up on the neck and it's like a lot of hold-o-dy kind of things. Or maybe I wait until the chorus completely and I just no bass until big low just right on the top of that chorus. Or maybe it is the chorus, but I want to stay up high and save the down low big parts for the second chorus or the last chorus, and I'm kind of crafting a part. So, I'm going to be out in this section, or this section I'm going to, I'm just going to pump 8th notes, or maybe this time I'm going to pump 8th notes, but make them really even, give them a little space. So I'll be thinking of those options so that when I toss all 3 to a producer, they can pull all 3 in and kind of put together what they like.
Right, if they want to come.
Yeah. Kind of comp it together I love this entrance point, but I actually like this verse groove better. I like that fill. But I like
the joys of digital recording that you can just,
it's incredible.
Great.
Yeah. So, and I got to take my time with it. I can, if I feel like, I've given it my best and it took me 2 hours to do one song, like, great.
Right.
I'm happy with that. Like, and I know the producer's going to be happy too. If it only took me 30 minutes, great.
Even better. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel the pressure at all of a time crunch. I can do it at my own pace, which is really, really nice.
So if people want to go check you out, see any music and stuff
for sure
that you have, or clips, I'm assuming social media, all that jazz, or no?
I have gotten off the socials for a while. I think there was a lot of weird social issues going on a few years ago that it kind of, I actually even been asked why I didn't post something. But I was kind of like, well, one, I don't know the whole story, so I'm not just going to jump onto the side of whatever, even if there are sides or not.
Right.
Plus, this is my social media page. Like, I can put on it when I want.
Right.
I don't need to be judged for it. And it really put a bad taste in my mouth. So
social media is rough. I feel like I know a lot of people who are only on it because they feel like they have to be for being in the industry.
And I may have, shot myself in the foot a bit by logging off. Maybe people are like, is he still alive? Is he still around? Is this dude still doing stuff? But it's like, the people that care, they reach out.
Exactly.
And they get their work. And we talk.
You're
and
good.
Our families hang out. So it's like, I don't need likes and I don't need somebody's fake appreciation for my life to get work or feel satisfied.
That is 100% there.
I just so I got off of those a while back. I do have music that's out. I played on a lot of Hunter stuff. If you look up anything past the first record, that's a lot of my bass playing. I didn't record with the Chattahoochies, but would love to. Guys, if you guys are going back to the studio, I'm over here. Did some stuff with JT, some stuff with him in the studio too. So, it's in there and out there. I don't know if All Music is still a website. I don't even know if I have a page on there anymore. I don't know. I just kind of like
All Music's still a thing.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Okay, cool. So I don't know. I'm not a big self-promoter. I like to, if somebody wants to use me certain, they can figure out how to get in touch with me.
That's totally
fine. If they don't, they do want to use me something, they don't know how to get in touch, you can use my email address. I could give that out.
Or do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Or you can message the podcast and then reach out. Or you know what? If you're in town, or JT Hodges is playing, or Chattahoochies are playing,
there you go. That's how you find me.
There's a high possibility you'll be there. Just look out for the Dredge. You can't miss him. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting.
Been my pleasure. Absolutely. This is awesome. I'm so glad to see you're doing this. I love that I ran into Smitty
Right.
right
It's
out
a
there
small
too. So
world.
it's like, yeah, it's
Small
really
world.
cool. This needs to happen more often. This kind of thing where you get to hear people's stories from Music City. It's awesome.
Right.
It's really cool.
We love it. I love Nashville, and hopefully people love the story. But thank you so much, everyone. We are going to be back next week with another episode of Sippin' on Country. But right now, in the most British accent, I've got Matt Utterback.
Very British, it is.
I have to say the T's. Gotta do it. Recorded at 2300 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Original theme music by Gary Wood.